Thank you, Baki. No one's told me that before. Thank you. I'm going to talk about a bunch of teams today that you don't know anything about. Appreciate your patronage. Triton Cup. Could you possibly drop the bracket of Triton Cup in the chat right now? The one thing that is the most annoying about Dapple Productions is instead of having everything in one server where you can just, here's a roll and you get to see the channels for that one tournament, they have their main server is just a hub to a server for every single tournament they have. Why is every tournament its own server? I don't think I'm in the Triton one, but that is by far the most annoying thing, is having an individual server for each and every single tournament that you have. Just put it in one doggone server. No, IPL is never going to do that. Look, I'm going to say a lot of nice things about Dapple Productions today, but that's the one thing where it's like, what the... Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Peter. Okay, I'm going to be talking about one of these things. I'm going to be talking about some of these teams, and it looks like there's a lot of worth mentioning. Thank you. results the day after the tournament happens. Well, I mean, paddling pool ended an hour before SOS started yesterday, so I'm assuming some of their staff are like hit close on the stream and then go to bed because it's crazy late. So that's probably why, but for the life of me, I can't come up with any logical reason why. Whatever. I have tried it, Baki. My only gripe being it just makes it more difficult for me to find information, but we get the information anyway, so it all works out. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are coming up with a dream kit for whatever weapon you're hoping is going to be released at some point, watching the YouTube VOD of the Big House sets of Splatoon, which are already up, thinking Sendao Q is back anytime Sendao tweets out anything. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Hey, this is history. 139 episodes of the Popcast, and we're doing something you've never seen before. A Friday stream not related to Low Ink at all. Of course, being the Low Ink guy that I am, I'll find a way to weasel it in here and there, and I'll plug it in an upcoming segment. But I have this Popcast started off over 2 years ago as a way to do a deep dive look into the low-level scene of competitive Splatoon, because there were a lot of great storylines going on in low-level, and mostly nobody was talking about it. It wasn't like mainstream to talk about low-level stuff. And maybe it still isn't. I don't know, but you look at the success of Low Ink and how people are tweeting out that it is the most well-run tournament and they can't play in it because they're too good. Kind of shows the significance, the power that low level has. However, I have been trying for a little bit now to branch out, to make this more of a open-ended kind of podcast, just a strict, no skill capped, open invite tournament competitive Splatoon podcast. And this is a big step in that direction for me today. It only took 139 episodes, but I'm going to start doing this, or at least try to make an effort to start doing this. More preview episodes talking about tournaments coming up, even if they're not related to IPL. If they are major tournaments, whatever definition of a major is, I don't know. But we need to spend more time talking about some of these other tournaments, so we're going to do that. I need to stop being typecast as the quote-unquote low-level guy and just the bald guy who talks about competitive Splatoon a lot. Also, how much longer can I keep doing this before it becomes weird? Like, I'm 32 now, and I think it's fine. But, like, if I go into my 40s and I'm still talking about this, is that going to be weird? No. You know why? Because all you guys are going to be older, too. Soon, you guys are going to be in your 30s playing this game, and then it's not going to, it's going to be more socially acceptable. It's just I might have even less hair than I'm going to have at that point. Hey, real quick, news of some tournaments that are upcoming that may be of interest to the casual listener of the Popcast. We'll plug some low-level stuff real quick. First off, Little Squid League as having, I believe, their third invitational. That is going to be on October the 29th, same time as the SAC tourney, but LSL's Invitational already has their team, so it's not going to hurt their registration at all. LSL dropped a fire trailer for this yesterday, and I believe it has over 1,000 likes on Twitter already. No, it's at 991, so we'll get over 1,000 a little bit later at some point today. So hopefully they get a lot of eyeballs. I know they put a ton of effort into making their tournament what it is. Still no word, I guess, on when the first actual, well, not actual, but the first open invite Little Squid League tournament is going to be. But the teams that they got here are definitely some teams that you know. What do we got here? As I just blast the actual trailer in your ears. Base bars, Marine Melody, Hook, Line, and Sinker. Oh no, they got the glitter gel pins in there. That's the worst name. Radical Dreamers, Uwu, who I guess, or Oofish, Rise and Shine, and Sparkling Sea. So I think they do their own little preview with that, and right off the top of my head, I would assume Oofish might be the favorite for that one, but it's been a while since we looked at LSL teams. But I think Oofish might have that one. And I always say that, and they never actually take care of business and get it done, but we'll see. Regardless, if you want to play in that, you can't. It's invite only, but if you are Low Ink eligible, you should sign up for Low Ink. You should do that sooner rather than later. Again, you have to use your splash tag. Oh my gosh, what is this team? You have to use your splash tag to as your IGN and Battlefy. You got to do that. A lot of teams have signed up and they haven't done that. We're gonna get over 100 teams for this Low Ink, and it's gonna be cool. I'm glad that we're getting back up to that number. I think I'm mentally prepared for it, but if you don't have your splash tag by the time registration closes, you're going to not be happy when we talk to you as registration closes, because we're not. So fix it. Go, if you sign up for Low Ink, go to the IPL channel. We can't ping you guys yet because you don't have the captain roles, but as soon as we do, we're going to start pinging you guys. Hey, this one player in your team has refused to change their name. You need to do that. In case anyone's wondering when registration closes, because I don't pay attention to chat, I'm just assuming someone's saying that. 2 hours from now, plus a week. So next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which I believe Daylight Time is going to be coming to an end in a month or yes, at some point next month. So make sure you pay attention to that. Today, we're going to be previewing 20XX, including a chat with Baja Blast. Now, I told my wife in the car 2 days ago, I was like, hey, I'm going to be talking to Baja Blast on the Popcast. And she was like, okay, cool. And today she was like, oh, wait, Baja Blast is an actual person. I thought you were just making a joke that Jub would do about Taco Bell. And it's like, no, that's their actual name, Baja Blast, the head TO for 20XX. So maybe it'll be a learning experience for some of us here. But first, before we get into the teams, let's talk about the last 20XX, the last tournament that took place in May, at the end of May, because a lot of wild stuff happened in that tournament. A lot of wild stuff happened in that tournament. First off, at the end of the day, who finished 1, 2, and 3 is how you would expect. Kings first, Starburst second, Jackpot third. For that time of 5 months ago, that's basically how you would rank things of everybody that signed up in tournaments. Isn't that the same exact order that Super Jump 2 finished? I think it is. I think it was Kings, Starburst, and then Jackpot finished third. So there you go. Not a whole lot of change going on right there. But before we could get to that Kings, Starburst, Jackpot final result, a lot of jank took place in this. Let me just list off some results that took place in the group stage of that tournament, which is going to be happening tomorrow as well. First off, Grape Juice beat Starburst 2-0. They swept Starburst in the group stage. The Heritage team from Germany beat Alliance Rogue 2-1. Foam's 14 beat 4 Big Guys, which was another top-level pickup. They beat them 2-0. The Root beat Bramball 2-1. Now, who was Bramball? That was basically an FT Win type pickup. Some players from FT Win combined with some other players. That's how you got that kind of team. These are all major upsets. Major upsets going on in the group stage of this tournament. The number 1 seed of the double elimination bracket on Sunday was Grape Juice. Grape Juice. Now, Grape Juice is a strong team, but a number 1 seed in a tournament with the Kings, Starburst, Jackpot, and FT Win pickup and Alliance Rogue. Okay. Starburst was the number 10 seed. And so there you go. That was now how did this happen? How do you get this level of scuffness in your major tournament? Like how can this possibly have happened here? You can't let these kinds of things happen, right? Well, the culprit is best of 3. The group stage back then and this month was best of 3. And I've been on record saying this, especially with Starburst in particular. When you look at a best of 9 scenario, a Ludi scenario, is anybody going to beat Starburst? No. That it's impossible. It's just straight up not possible. Can anybody beat Starburst in a best of 5? It becomes a little bit more possible. However, if your team wasn't named the Kings or FT Win last year in 2021, you didn't do it, but it is still technically possible. Can anybody beat Starburst in a best of 3? Yes. Yes, they can. The proof is in the pudding. Grape Juice did it. Why? Because there is enough jank that can happen in a best of 3, especially preset map lists, to where anybody can beat anybody. Now, are the odds of anybody beating Starburst high? No, it's probably like 0.05%. or something like that, but that's still a massively larger number than a best of 5 scenario against Starburst where it's 0.001 or something like that. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yes, but when you have best of 3, it's all chaos. And that's where all those upsets happen in the best of 3 round. Now, typically in a major, who cares? Super Jump was best of 3 as well for the 4 rounds of Swiss groups that they had in that tournament. And for the most part, nothing really crazy happened in Wave B. However, in Wave A, you did have a lot of jank happen. You did have a lot of strong teams that finished deep into the tournament on Sunday that had to make runs through Redemption Bracket because they got upset in the best of 3 round of group stage. That won't happen this time around, though. Even though this is still a best of 3 group stage, the problem with the last 20XX is it did have... how many total teams did it have? It had 41 total teams that signed up for the last tournament. The problem being the vast majority of those 41 teams are all quality opponents. There's no real fluff. There's no fat. It's all tough teams that you have to play against. And when you have to play against nothing but tough teams in a best of 3, eventually you're going to get upset. Now, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. As long as you're finished somewhere in the top 2 of your group, you're moving on to alpha bracket. That's the goal anyways. It's like I tell teams in low ink, it doesn't matter if you go 4-2 and you squeak in, or you go 6-0. Most of the time going 6-0 is not a good thing for you. I think only 7 teams have won the tournament going 7-0. Just win and get into alpha bracket. But it does make things really jank when you do go with the seeding, when you got Grape Juice at number 1 and you got Starburst down at number 10 to start Sunday. Then it's like, oh, okay, I'm the higher seed than Starburst now, but this screws me over because I'm playing Starburst way earlier than what I probably would want to play them. So now getting the number 1 seed isn't really the strongest thing anymore. It's how far away am I from the number 10 seed kind of thing. But that won't happen this time around. There's not going to be that many super close competitive matches between the top teams in this tournament and like the mid-range teams in this tournament, because there are a insane number of teams that have signed up for this, including about 30 that have signed up today. And even though I listed out this morning and made my top 5 and all the teams I want to talk about, there are now a gazillion other teams that I want to talk about that have signed up since I started doing this. Literally, I took a nap and woke up and about 30 other teams signed up. What is wrong with you guys? Honestly, why do you guys wait to the last possible second? Is there some sort of prize? Is there some sort of competition to see who can be the very last team to sign up? Is this some sort of speed run where you guys are trying to save as many frames as possible before like registration closes? Like, why do we do this as a community? Just sign the frick up. And I understand, like, a lot of people don't know what their schedule is, like, until the last possible second, or like, oh, is Aunt Bertha gonna come over this weekend and we gotta hang out with her instead of play a tournament, and you don't know till the end of the day Friday. I get it, but good golly, Miss Molly, as a TO, you're just sitting there like, oh man, 40 teams signed up. Oh my gosh, our tournament just doubled in size in like an hour. Oh boy. So this tournament just got a lot stronger. My point being, though, now that we're at 2, they got 81 teams with 19 pending. This could get to 100 by the... When does registration close? Is it today or later? I don't know. One team's in here with the name of Dumb F. The whole name spelled out. There's no way that's going to fly. Oh, my gosh. Way to show your age just by the team name you got right there. But... my point being, with the best of 3 thing, it's not going to be an issue here because Starburst isn't going to be playing Grape Juice in the group stage. They're going to be playing somebody like Dive or Drifting Tide, or, like their toughest opponent might be somebody like Tukey 2, which Tukey 2 is a strong team in their own right, but I'd rather play one Tukey 2 instead of Tukey 2 and Grape Juice and Sequoia and Prominence and all those other teams. Like, space them out. Give me my quick 3-0s. Let me go undefeated, and I'll be on my way. Or 2-0s, I guess you should say. So that's the difference. The format doesn't... Now, I thought the culprit for the last 20XX tournament, why it was best of 3 instead of best of 5 in the group stage, was because they did the beta bracket the same exact day. So they did group stage, rushed, and got that over with just so they could put on the beta bracket on stream. And... I like the fact that they were able to find a way to stream beta bracket, but having that all on one day is the sacrifice of, well, you got to have best of 3 in the group stage and less quality matches to go on there. And that's the thing. People are always saying, or at least in Splatoon 2, they were always saying, why don't you stream Gamma Bracket and Beta Bracket? Like, there's a lot of great matches that go on there that just nobody ever talks about because it never gets streamed. Why don't you add more channels, IPL, and bring in more fantasy streamers and commentators to produce more content for this stuff? Well, in order to do that, you got to make sacrifices somewhere, and that's kind of the sacrifice that needed to be made last time. But everything is on Sunday. Alpha, Beta, Gamma, and I believe they're all double elimination tournaments. And the size of them depends on how many teams sign up, because I believe everybody makes a bracket. Correct me if I'm wrong. I guess I could ask a source in a couple of minutes when we have Baja Blast on. But as some people have made the comparison of, well, this is just low ink. What's wrong with that? We don't have a copyright on the 6 rounds of whatever in day 1 and Alpha, Beta, and Gamma on day 2. It works. And this isn't Swiss. This is group stage, which means it's all actually seeded. So this could be an even better format. And so many people have said, well, we just want low ink. I wish I could play in a low ink tournament, but I can't because I'm banned from it. Well, this is kind of the closest thing to that kind of format that you can get. The next level of what a low ink format could be, with the same number of teams signing up at the last minute. Ugh. This is going to be a great tournament, and there's a lot of cool teams that are going to be playing in it. So let's buzz through them real quick. And first off, let's try to throw in some teams that are going to be that have signed up late after here that I want to talk about. All-Star Squad is here, back from the dead, and there's several teams that are just back from the dead that we haven't seen in a long time. Hypnosis. Okay, this is a team that probably needs to be talking about. Sleepy, Isa, Grape, and Isaac. Sleepy, I believe, is a junior player, and I don't know what Isaac's been doing with the new weapons that have been coming out here, but that's all. Typically, that kind of combination of players screams pretty good. But again, they just signed up, and I just noticed it, so who knows? No Plan B has Falco Dez, Odds, Getaway, and Nick. Man, these are just quality pickups that are just here. Who's this team in particular here? Caden's Bad Morning. Caden, Soldier, Keem says good morning, and Omega. I wonder if that's teams to sign up because Shadow's already signed up with a different team in this tournament. So they're just going as Bad Morning. Who's this Counter Style? Don't recognize the players. PI, don't recognize those players as well. But still, just a lot of other quality pickups just signed up a little bit afterwards later today. The most notable team to sign up at this point, though, today is the team that's going to win the whole tournament, likely, the Kings. And I think there was another team from Japan that has signed up a little bit earlier, and I don't know a lot of teams. Well, I don't know Japan in particular, so I don't think I'm qualified enough to come in here and talk about them. Nine and Magic would know more about that than me, or at least they're attempting to know more about that with the commentary they do with the Area Cup tournaments on IPL. But the Kings are, in fact, here. So the question being is, can they be beaten this time around? And I don't think we'll get we'll get an answer to that, but I think we'll be a little dissatisfied with the answer we get this time, and I'll explain why in a minute. But the teams who signed up before I took a nap today, let's talk about them. First off, Rising Wave might just be the best Latin American team that we have in the scene right now. They might just be. Micklin Heroes and Allwall Gaming have always been battling for that kind of position, and I think with a good weekend right here, Rising Wave could steal it. I talked about a little bit earlier this week how it seems like they've been playing with a chip on their shoulder ever since they got put in Div 3 almost a year ago in Ludi, feeling like they got a little disrespectful seating right there, and they've been playing like a bat out of hell ever since. A very impressive run from top to bottom. They've won the past two SOS tournaments against quality opponents. Like these last two SOS tournaments have been stacked, not with like a Sayonara level team, but still still strong players from the Plus servers. And Rising Wave, even though they had Lex last time, was able to keep squeaking out these Game 7s and SOSs. So this is a great opportunity for Rising Wave to kind of say, yeah, here we are. We're a really strong team, and they've improved so much over the course of the past year. They really have. And this is going to be a great showcase for them. If you haven't been paying attention to them yet, you will after this tournament. I think the team with the biggest question mark, or maybe not question mark, but the biggest questionable target on them right now is In Control Splatoon Red Sun. Yes, they finished second place in Riptide, and that was a fantastic story. And I wonder if that was the main driving point behind In Control deciding to sponsor them. Now, I don't know anything about what you get out of a sponsorship, whether it was Ghost Gaming or Carnage Gaming or In Control. Like, I don't know what you get out of that. And I'm not going to like speculate until I actually know. But what you do get is a bunch of other teams that don't get sponsored that are like, well, how come they got sponsored, but I'm better than them. They're sponsoring the wrong team. Like, what? I don't know. I don't know what, and I don't know what In Control gets out of that either. Like, it's an interesting like relationship between those two teams, but what it means is everybody's going to be gunning for Red Sun, and everybody's going to tweet out every time they beat them now. They've kind of inherited this cherry limeade role of any time they lose, it becomes a tweetable thing for some reason. Is it fair? I don't know. But if you're Red Sun, every win that you get is going to have to be earned at this point, and you got a huge target on your back. It's an opportunity for them to make a lot of noise. It's just something we're going to be keeping an eye on, because I like the players from Red Sun. They're all nice people for sure. They're all strong players. They've improved a lot. It's just they're here. Let's see what they do with this. Did I wrote down Rising Wave twice on here, and I pretty much put down the same thing. I wrote them down once before I took a nap and once after I woke up. That's how much of a fan of Rising Wave I've become all of a sudden. Squidding Good is not in my top 5. I know they played a show match recently with Alliance Rogue, and I think it went mostly into the favor of Alliance Rogue. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know much about the French scene at all. If you've listened to any episodes of the podcast, which I know you have, I don't pay attention to Europe that much. So I looked in the Squidding Good. They've been playing competitively since March of 2016. What were you guys doing in 2016? I think most of you weren't even allowed to be on Twitch at that point. That's how long these guys have been playing, representing the French scene. Now, the French scene is so hard to... The French scene is so segmented from the rest of the competitive scene. It's not often you see France kind of step out of their country and play against other teams, especially in international tournaments. But you're seeing more and more of that going forward. Obviously, Alliance Rogue plays in a lot of different things, and Squidding Good as well. But I don't exactly have them in my top 5. If you want to put them at number 6, I think that's fair, but I feel pretty solid about the 5 that we got here. And again, that just shows how strong of the competition that there is in this tournament. DNA is playing in this tournament, and I'm really excited to see DNA play, because their claim to fame is 3-0ing FT Win in the Nintendo tournament the same day that Super Jump SJ, different tournament, Super Jump 2 was going on. And because Super Jump 2 was going on at the same time, DNA did not play in that tournament. They dropped some Super Jump to play in the Nintendo tournament, and they were rewarded with a 3-0 win over FT Win in semifinals leading up to the grand finals, where they ultimately lost, I believe, to Super P. But asterisks, do we put asterisks next to wins in the scene? No, we don't. We really don't. But it is worth noting that FT Win team was like, okay, here's who's left of FT Win, and here's who they brought on, and here's who's shaking off rust from college. And it is FT Win, but as we're watching it, it's like, okay, this team is not, it's just the shadow of what they formerly were, and they played a lot better FT Win next day at Super Jump when they 3-0 Jackpot to get a little bit of revenge on them before vanishing into the night. But still, that's DNA's claim to fame, and we didn't get to see them in Super Jump, and now we get an opportunity to see them, and there's a lot of great opportunities for them to get great wins and solidify themselves as a potential top tier team, which we could always use room for some more. There's some new teams, however, making an appearance. Maybe not exactly the first time, but is making an appearance nonetheless in this tournament. And a couple of players that have a lot of clout, a lot of following, and anytime they play in tournaments is a good thing for all of us because it brings more eyeballs. First off, Last Resort, Chara, Storm Hero, Kiwi, and Mecha. Now, I tweeted out at the end of Big House that Starburst was the best team, and it's not even close, or something like that. And Chara responded with, well, other teams just need to grind. Well, here's a team that needs to grind, Last Resort. As we saw from Chara at Big House, the only team capable of taking a single game off of Starburst at Big House was the team that Chara was on, Scam. How does the rest of this team kind of mesh together? I know they've been grinding, and I know they probably got a long way to go since then to figure out where they stand in the grand scheme of things. But they're kind of in that category of DNA and probably some other teams I'm not going to mention of just, okay, there's a spot open for maybe a third or fourth place spot as the number 3 team in North America. Who would it be? And how far can they grind past that? I don't know. But this will be our first real chance to see an eyeball on them. Spark is playing as well at the end of Big House. This team was officially announced and got some notable names on here. First off, Takimi, Express, Johnny, Cool Dude, and Dude. Is that going to be confusing? I don't know. Cool Dude is in chat. Hello. And Dude is not. But when you think of this team, you are automatically going to think of Dude every single time. Every single time. And again, that's a good thing because that brings more, whatever team Spark or whatever tournament Spark plays in is going to bring a lot of eyeballs to it. Now, as I just found out, Triton Cup 40 was taking place and probably just wrapped up a few moments ago. Spark played in this one, was able to beat Myopsitus, lost to Uprising, who finished in second place. Uprising is the only team to beat them, and Uprising finished in second place. Spark was able to finish 4th overall in this. How many teams played in this tournament? Just under 37 teams. So that's a good warm-up for Spark. And there's still a lot of strong teams that played in this tournament as well. Uprising is going to be playing in this tournament. Also Giga Wayne. So a lot of teams that are playing in this tournament are going to be playing tomorrow as well. But Spark is the notable team going on here, so we'll be seeing. And I'm just getting something in my head is telling me that Dura might be subbing in, the Dutch champion. You can't go wrong when you got a player like that on your team. We'll be keeping an eye on Spark. Cookies and Cream is a pickup team. Max, Barry, Shadow, and Madness. Shadow being of a good morning, and is probably why, they're not playing with Caden's bad morning. But still, you know what I like about this team? Did I say the wrong country? I might have. It happens there. Hey, I did wake up from a nap. That's my official excuse. But you know what? Portugal. There we go. Thank you for correcting me on that. Do you know what I like about Cookies and Cream? Even though it appears to be a pickup, is that it's a consistent pickup. They've played in terms before with this name of Cookies and Cream. That's good. And Cookies and Cream being a good flavor is something I like. But if when this age that we're in, where you're constantly seeing pickups play in every single tournament, as long as the name is consistent, then you got a little bit of branding there with a pickup. So that's great. And even though it's a name like Cookies and Cream, it's still good to see. That's another strong team that's going in here. None of those teams I got in my top 5, however. These are the teams that I do have in my top 5. We'll run through them real quick. Sources are also telling me that Dura is not going to be playing in 20XX. That was just a sub for today. This is what I get for paying attention in the chat. Top 5 teams. Now, keep in mind, this list does not include Kings and any other team from Japan. But if we're just going to do which teams are going to win this tournament, it's just going to be a top 1. It's going to be Kings. Kings are going to win this tournament. That is a fact. If you don't believe that, or you're holding out hope that something else is going to happen, you haven't been paying attention. But these are the top 5 teams in the West who have a chance to finish as the best in the West in this tournament. Actually, real quick, before we get into the top 5, because there's this conversation of, well, how come teams from Japan only play in tournaments that have prize pools? Didn't you just answer your own question? Because it's got a prize pool? Who cares? Like, why else should they play in a tournament against? Why else would they stay up late into the night to play a tournament where they're going to get results against teams that the rest of the people in their country don't really know. Like, what do they have the benefit from that? Nothing. Now, there are some teams that there's been some JP pickups that have played in SOS before, and that, that's fine. I'm not going to sit here and blame anybody for playing in any tournament, but I think the idea of why are they playing in a tournament that's got a prize pool? Hello? Are you a human being too? We know how this works. If I got an opportunity to win something, I'm going to take it. And as a competitor, I personally like seeing Starburst playing against some team, Jackpot playing against some teams from Japan. I think it's fine. I think it makes the tournament more exciting, and it's cool because the entire chat starts to rally behind whoever's playing the team from Japan. And it's not like an anti-Japan thing. It's just we want to see an upset. Everybody roots for the underdog. Everybody's going to root for whoever's playing against Starburst until Starburst plays against Japan, and then the entire script gets flipped. But I can't believe people are surprised that this is a thing. Like, that's and I don't blame. It's the same thing with top level teams. They don't play in tournaments unless there's a prize pool most of the time, and that's why would they? It's like there's nothing to gain out of it. It's like, oh, they're not getting results for plus service. I could go on a tangent. My point being, I don't care if top level players from any country play in one tournament over another, or if they're incentivized. If that's why there's a prize pool in this tournament, to draw in those kinds of teams. If there was no prize pool, those teams wouldn't be here. That's exactly what's going on. Top 5 teams from this tournament, not from Japan. Number 5, give me the Oro Jackson, who I had to Google. Yes, I don't pay attention to One Piece, and I'm way too intimidated by the fact that there are so many episodes that I don't want to sit through all of them, so I'm not going to touch it. Probably ever for the rest of my life, but don't call me uncultured. I pay attention to a lot of anime. I'm just really, really nervous to start One Piece at this point because of how massive it is. So I had to Google. The Oro Jackson is the name of the ship of the Pirate King. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I don't know who Oro Jackson is, but as you've looked into what they've done recently, including today, where they've won Trident Cup today, going undefeated against Uprising, Giga Wayne, and Uprising again. 3-0s across the board. Goodbye, we're winning Triton Cup. And they've won the past 4 paddling pools that they played in. They played in 4 of the past 5, and they've won them all, including getting a 3-2 win over Squidding Good in paddling pool number 181. Oro Jackson, the kings of paddling pool, the pirate ship king of paddling pool. Really strong team right there. And it's good to see them coming into this one. And of the little bit that I saw of them in the stream of paddling pool, if you are somebody who is a fan of the machine, well, you're going to love this team because they're fans of the machine as well. Making good use of that thing. Oro Jackson's number 5. I feel like they're solid number 5. Number 4. I gotta put Sayonara here. I really do. Yes, I know that the members of Jackpot have proven themselves. All the players that are on Sayonara have proven themselves at some point, but they've yet to prove themselves as a collective team yet. And that's not their fault. That's just a lack of tournaments for them to play in up to this point. Yeah, they played in some SOS tournaments and dominated them, but that's it. Yes, they played in Big House and traded wins against Big. And the good news is, I feel like when you're in that land setting playing against Kyo, you're gonna get a more emotional, a lot of emotion into that. And you saw it. If you're there, you physically saw that right in front of you with both teams jawing at each other after every single game. You're not going to get much of that online, so maybe that'll allow them to play a little bit more under control in a sense, because it did look like that set of losers finals got a little out of control for them, especially in that game 5, where they were just reacting to what Big was doing instead of playing their own play style. But Sayonara has a lot of upside. It's just they haven't had a lot of opportunities to prove themselves just yet. So That's why I got them at number 4, and I feel like that's fair for now. Number 3 is Alliance Rogue, and they could very easily be number 2 in this tournament. And probably a lot of other people will have them at number 2. My question being, with the recent roster changeover, bringing out Scar and bringing in Jay, this is still the best team in Europe, even though they have shown capabilities to being upset by the Root in the last tournament that they play in. And maybe Oro Jackson could be in there as well. Soren, not Scar. Okay, we got that one messed up as well. Thank you for the correction. But still, I wonder if Oro Jackson could beat them. I don't know if Oro Jackson and Alliance Rogue have played against each other. But regardless, Alliance Rogue has the experience and has been around for such a long time that you got to give them the credit here and put them at least at number 3. And I think some other people might have them at number 2. Yes, Obito is playing on Prominence, I believe is the team name that they're in, that is also signed up for this tournament. Prominence, yes. So who do I have at number 2 then if I don't have Alliance Rogue? Give me Amp. And it's going to be hard to pick against Amp when you have the roster that they got. So Keo tweeted out, hey, me, Bursty, and Goss are going to be playing together. I think maybe as a permanent team. We need an anchor player. And I don't think they were like, yeah, Zeras would be nice, but they live in Europe. Well, they're playing with Zeras in this tournament. So Keo, Bursty, Goss, and Zeras. And this is basically, didn't all these players at some point appear in a tournament for FT Win or not FT Win? So this is basically a team loaded with FT Win DNA. And as I saw in person at Big House, it's going to be hard to pick against a team that has Keo on it, regardless who's on the roster going forward. That's why I got them ahead of Alliance Rogue, putting Amp at number 2 and Alliance Rogue at number 3, just because Keo just has that anime pro tag energy. And when you combine it with Bursty and Goss and a cracked Charger player in a game that supports cracked Charger players and Zeris, Amp's going to be a really solid team. The number 1 team here, there's not really much that you can say other than Starburst. You would be absolutely insane to say the number 1 team not from Japan in this tournament is Starburst. That's who it's always going to be, even if they don't win this tournament or don't become the number 1 team in the West out of this tournament. There is a question mark with Starburst, though. Biscuit is not on the roster. At least the last time I checked, Biscuit is not on the roster. We'll double check that real quick. No, it's Leafy, Bagel, Ice, Bran, and Anthony that are officially on this roster right here. So Biscuit not playing this weekend as far as we know. Leafy in. Now, here's what we got to say. This is not that, Biscuit is a strong player. Some would argue is the best individual player. How you gauge who is the best individual player in a game with multiple roles and things like that, I don't know. But Leafy is not a rebuilding player. Leafy is a reloading player. Oh, I fired my Biscuit bullet. Let me just put the Leafy one right back in and fire it. You're not losing anything. It's just picking up right where you left off. And if Starburst can win this tournament, or at least threaten to beat Kings in a grand final in this tournament, without Biscuit in the roster, that's GG's. That is GG's. I mean, that just shows that it's like, okay, you can't beat them without Biscuit. How are you going to beat them with Biscuit? And again, Leafy's going to be just a strong player. You're not losing any quality. Starburst still by far the number 1 team that's in this one. And I like the fact that they're not going by not Starburst or Starburst +1, Starburst plus Leafy. As like when you do it like that, it's kind of like a backdoor out. If you don't win or you're not as successful as you're supposed to be. Well, we were not. No. You didn't beat Starburst. You beat not Starburst, or you beat Starburst +1. No, it kind of like sets yourself as to have an out to blame whoever your sub is like, well, you just beat this sub who helped us out. No, this is This is going to be the same kind of play style you're used to seeing out of this team. So I like the fact that they're not setting their sub up to be the scapegoat if things don't work out. But still, this team's got the giant target on their back. If they didn't already, they do now, after Brand went on to Negus' stream and basically just said, nobody in the West can beat us. We don't care about you guys anymore. Which is, you said the quiet part out loud. And I like that. I like that kind of talk. And I like that Negus provided the platform for that kind of conversation to take place. We need more of that kind of talk out there. And Starburst is the only team who can cash the checks that they're writing, right? So we'll see how this goes. But again, if Starburst finishes top 2 in this tournament without Biscuit, it's over. Just give them the prize money for every tournament going forward that the Kings don't sign up in. It's over. Like, what are you going to do? You got to grind, and there's going to be people that are grinding, and eventually maybe this AMP becomes a real thing, and Alliance Rogue continues to go forward, and Oro Jackson, we'll see how good they actually are. But, at the end of the day, we'll just see how far the gap truly is after this weekend, and it might be too much to overcome. But that's the questions going into this tournament. Oh, that's enough talking from me. Let's hear from somebody who's actually running this tournament. So, welcome into the stream, the head TO for 20XX, and somebody who I'm assuming is a big fan of Mountain Dew, Baja Blast. Baja, how's morale today?
Pretty good. I've been doing seeding all day, it feels like, because teams won't stop signing up.
Seeding all day. Yeah, okay, so my question is, when does registration end?
So, because of the last time we did this, it was a lot smaller. It was about half the size without ending signups now. It was about 40, 50 teams. So signups end an hour before the tournament. However, to compensate for that, I'm doing preliminary seeding as I see people sign up. So that way I can just type in the numbers instead of having to read every single team in an hour. Because that would be impossible.
Let's see. I'm going to try to turn you up. I have you on full blast on everything that I have on my side. Maybe there's like some way I can add gain real quick.
1 second.
Maybe there's... But, yes, if you just joined. Okay, so were you able to, like, turn yourself up somehow?
Is that better?
Maybe. Maybe it might just have to be a thing where the audience has to pull. Oh, wait, I can add a little gain here, I think, to that. How do you like Tetris so far?
So Re-Slider sucks. That special is worse than Splashdown. I miss Splashdown. I never thought I would say that. Other than that, it's perfectly fine. I'm just waiting for the meta to change.
Who did I see tweet that out? Was that Chase that tweeted it out today? It was like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I miss Splashdown. So maybe that's just the thing as well.
It's not just me from talking to the other Tetras. It seems like we all don't like Re-Slider as much as we thought.
What is why did you change your name to Baja Blast?
So originally, I'm sure there's people in chat who know I used to go by Eden Mori, and I still use that at like lands that I go to. The main reason I switched it to Baja Blast was about a year ago, I took a break from comp, and when I came back, I was like, I want to change my tag. And this isn't the first time I've changed my tag. This is the second time, because I used to go by Carbon, and then I didn't play any Carbon roller, so it was ironic. But I just like the name Baja Blast. It's supposed to be the Dragon Bahamut from Final Fantasy, if anyone knows what that is.
Okay,
not a Mountain Dew reference.
Okay, but everyone's gonna think of the Mountain Dew. What'd you say? It's the dragon from a game?
Yeah, from Final Fantasy, the Square Enix's RPG.
Okay, Did the
It is supposed to sound like the Mountain Dew drink. Also, that's on purpose.
Okay, so fair enough. Baja Blast. Hey, you're stuck with it now. You can't change it now that you're running a major like this. Okay, so this is the definition of a major. Is there a definition of that, and does this tournament fit that definition?
If there was a definition, yes. However, depending on who you ask, the definition changes. Like is it having 20,000 people play? I don't know. Is it having a ton of top teams? Like I would say low ink's a major, and that's mostly low and mid level. That wouldn't count as a major if we did just top teams. Um, Another big tournament, Sendau's Into Zone series. Only top level plays in that, but if you ask most top level people, it would probably be a major. But I'm pretty sure 99% of people would say that 20xx is a major at this point.
Yeah, I mean that's a whatever your definition is. When you see the teams that are signed up here in the prize pool, that's a yeah. I think that's fair to say. How did you get involved in 20xx?
So I'm actually the original founder. So originally, about last year in December, I was in I'm a high level player, so I play a lot of like +3 scrims and +2 scrims and stuff like that. And I noticed that I couldn't play in any tournaments. Basically, I could play in SOS and Squid Junction, and that was pretty much it. And if you're on Splat Twitter a lot, I'm sure during that time you saw every top player complaining like, "Where's my major? I want to play in a major." So after Christmas, as a test, I ran 20xx1, and it was a pretty scuffed tournament. I think it turned out okay in the long run, but it was pretty scuffed. Chara streamed it. Thanks, shouts to Chara for doing that for me. Thank you. Chara streamed it on his channel. But it turned out that people enjoyed watching it, and I was like, okay, I have something going on here. So I was sort of just ran with it from there, and then I was thinking to myself, how can I grow this to be bigger than just like a once in a lifetime thing?
So one of the things you did to grow it to be bigger was to reach out to Dapple Productions, I'm assuming. What and this isn't coming across as like a why'd you pick Dapples over IPL kind of thing. I'm just genuinely curious what made you decide to partner up with Dapples in particular.
So I was actually between IPL and Dapple when I originally thought of maybe I should take this to one of the bigger organizations. The main reason I probably went with Dapple over the others is one, I'm more familiar with Dapple's TLs. Like I'm friends with Havoc, who runs Squid Junction, and then Dapple actually reached out to me as well about it when I was reaching out to Dapple as well. So it was one of those things where they reached out to me because we figured out the partnership would be beneficial for both sides.
Uh, have you tried to make connections to Japan, like, or like promote your tournament to Japan at all?
I personally cannot speak Japanese. Now, as we've seen with people showing up, Japan will show up to a tournament if there's money involved. Like we have two top JP teams playing tomorrow, so they'll show up. I would like to advertise more to like all of Japan though. Like I would like to see your Pixio monsters, your I think Clix is playing with King, so I think he's playing. But your top JP teams that maybe don't show up as much to show up and stuff. And I know some of that is also just because a lot of them can't commit to playing at like what is it, 3 a.m. or something ridiculous. But I would like to see more top JP and like Western scene play together just so the scene's not as split up.
The importance of this tournament being the first major, first online major, I guess you should say, first international major for Splatoon 3. What do you like? Is it not lost on you the fact that a lot of people are going to be looking at this tournament as the first real look at all the top level teams playing against each other in this game?
So regardless of results, the results of this is basically going to sort of set up like a power rankings, I guess, for top level competitive Splatoon for probably the next six-ish months or so, where whoever gets first is going to be the best team. Whoever gets second is going to be the best team after that and sort. So it's going to be interesting to see the segregated communities like EU and NA don't really interact. as much, sort of fight each other to prove who's the better region and then who has the better teams in said region. And then, of course, we'll have JP trying to prove that they're still the best region as well.
I think we don't see a lot of NA versus EU matchups just because there's not a lot of tournaments that are on that Saturday time slot. It just kind of blows my mind. It feels like every Saturday there should be something, whether skill capped or open, that's at that 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight time slot. But we just don't really have a lot of that stuff. What time does this tournament start tomorrow?
It's going to be 1 p.m. EST.
Okay, so yeah, like that same kind of time slot. I just can't believe we don't have more things like that. And yeah, even though, we just do have a lot of weekday tournaments, so there's just not a lot of opportunities for those two regions to kind of bridge the gap between each other. So that's another cool thing to see here. Are you involved in the seeding for this? I'm assuming.
Yes, I'm going to be doing a majority of the seeding, though I have one of the EU TOs helping with EU side because I'm not as familiar with them.
So you're seeing every team that signs up, and you're going to be deciding where they fit. My question is, since you were looking at all these teams, give us one team right now that a lot of people aren't talking about, or a lot of people aren't expecting to do as good as they probably are going to do this weekend.
Gosh, it's hard. If I had to choose just like a top seed, from a top team or teams with top pickups, I'm going to go with Choose It's Mafia. I think is going to get top. I think they're going to upset like a standard top 8 seed. Their team is very close knit, I find, and they've been playing together for a long time. Another team, just from maybe not like the top cut seeds, but still someone who will probably or could place top cut, will be Red Sun. I think Red Sun has a very good chance of just taking an upset that no one thinks they're going to take and then just running home with that if they can get that one upset.
You're hopping on the Red Sun bandwagon then. Yeah. Fair enough. Hey, again, we saw them play at Riptide and do really well there, beating some strong teams and going all the way to second place. So not bad there. Chewits Mafia, yeah, that's another really strong team that I just don't pay a lot of attention to, but I'm glad you mentioned them because they'll probably do really good as well. Ascension, do you remember Ascension? It's Shinex and Twig and Swin and Evan. Okay, yeah, that team's gonna be good too.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think. It's basically Arctic Moon plus like 2 old Ascension members, I think. Because Twig was never on Ascension, if I remember correctly.
The top 3 teams that you think are most likely, like what are your top 3 teams? And you can't just say the Kings as one of them because that's not fair.
So no JP then, because there's another JP.
Well,
team.
Actually, before we get into that, is there any other teams from Japan that have already signed up that you know?
There is one called a pickup called Comet. I don't know exactly who the players are, but I checked. They're all 2,800 and 2,900 players. So I don't think they're going to top 3 if I had to guess, but I think they are going to upset a lot of the good Western teams.
Do you know who this team Cool Japan is? They were one of the first teams to sign up.
Yes. That's JP Guy. So JP Guy is a +1 player. And then I believe Alan and Amu also played in some SOSs with JP Guy, and they got first in multiple SOSs as well.
So is that an actual JP pickup then? Yeah, okay.
I think it's like a pickup / team. I know who they are. I just don't know like the status of like how much they play together.
Right. It's hard to get a sense for those kinds of things for sure. All right. Top 3 teams. Who you got?
Starburst is number 1. That's pretty obvious. Actually, I'm gonna change my answer. Starburst is number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go with Oro Jackson because I think they've won every event they've played in so far. They have not dropped a single event that they've played in. I don't know how they match up against an A, so I don't know if they could beat a Starburst, and I'm gonna say they can't beat a Starburst even with Leafy on their roster. But my number one is actually gonna be Prominence. I think Prominence is gonna upset Starburst, not
Okay.
including like any JP teams.
Okay. I got choked up there thinking about that. So prominence is Bray, Nori, Zers, Velos, and Obito. What makes you feel so confident about this team over Starburst, over Alliance Rogue, over Amp? What's got you hooked up on this team?
Okay, so the reason I have them over Alliance Rogue is because I don't know how much they've played with Jay, so I don't know how practiced they are with Jay. Because Jay is a recent addition, like in the last week, as far as I know. If they've had him for over a month, in that case, that changes it a little bit. I still think Prominence wins that, but Alliance Rogue's definitely a top contender. Uh, Amp, again, I don't. Keo's a god, I'm sure. He can beat pretty much anybody if he sets his mind to it. I just don't know how he's gonna play with Goss in particular, because I don't know how practiced he is with Goss again. So it's another thing where I don't know how practiced he is with Goss. Prominence, the main reason I have them over Starburst is one, I've actually seen more EU play than NA play, even though I'm an NA player. And I think Obito has been training with all of Prominence since before Splatoon 3 came out. I believe this is about a 3-4 month team now. And I think they might have something that Starburst hasn't fought in a long time. I don't think Starburst has played a team like Prominence.
That's a bold statement to be saying there. But hey, you know what? The cool thing about all these previews we do, we'll find out the answer in 2 days. So if you're wrong here, we'll clip it and we'll share it on Twitter and we'll keep it alive.
I'm sure I'll end up on Ice's Twitter account saying, "Are you sure about that?"
Ooh, hot take right there. Did you not see the Nikas podcast talking about how Starburst was untouchable right there? But hey, you know what? Maybe they overlooked Prominence. Who knows? Now, it's not just... Now, there obviously a ton of quality teams and players are playing in this one. But with any major tournament, a lot of conversation has always been, well, how come low and mid-level doesn't sign up for these kind of events? And it's like, well, they signed up for Super Jump, and they're signing up for this one. So you're starting to get some low-level, quote-unquote, low-level teams here. How does it feel to be able to get those kinds of teams in? What about your tournament makes you do you feel like is drawing in those kinds of teams?
Well, one, I think we have the advantage of being the first major, so low level wants to sign up for like the first major just to get that little taste of major stuff. Especially at the end of Splatoon 2, I think a lot of reason low level didn't sign up maybe for top level majors was just because it was the end of the game. There was no reason to. But I think the big thing for low level players in particular is just one, having a bracket for them. So obviously they're not gonna go 0-2 in 2 minutes and then proceed to go watch stream. And then just giving low level a platform maybe to where they can play against these higher level teams. Like, sure, they're probably not going to beat Starburst, but they might upset like a mid level seed. They might upset your I'm trying to think who's playing now. Gosh. They might upset your Narwhal Gamings, your Sleeping Seals, those types of teams where they're more mid-level based, but now they have a chance to fight them instead of the just low ink where they can't really fight these teams because they're banned.
You know, first off, I just want to say none of them are upsetting Narwhal Gaming. I've been trying to beat those guys since 2019, and if I'm not beating them, I'm making damn sure nobody from Low Ink is going to beat them before I do.
No, I just had I was looking at my list of teams. And I was like, what's a number like a mid-level high mid-level team? And I just saw them first. I'm like, that works. But no, probably not your Narwhals, but definitely maybe your like sleeping seals or your +3 level pickups, they have a chance of upsetting.
Yeah, you do got a lot of recent low ink champions playing in this as well, and I'm happy that they're playing in this because that's another knock about low ink is that okay, once you win it, you just disband. There's nothing to do. But you got your sleeping seals, you got your Splat-A-Lot A, you got Uwu, Red Sun. You got a lot of teams that have grown up through low ink, including Johnny, who's playing with a Spark, won low ink back in 2020 with Collapsia. So you got a lot of people who have grown up in a low level playing in this tournament as well. And there's always been this conversation of, well, if you have multiple brackets, yeah, that's going to entice other people to play in your tournament that know they're not going to win. But then you got less people watching the stream. But after talking with Spoon a couple episodes ago, it's like, wait a minute, why do we care if competitive players are watching the stream or not? That's not who the target audience for this should be. It should be the people that don't play in tournaments anyways that should be putting eyeballs on this, which hopefully you're going to get a lot if Dude and Chara stream on top of that as well. Have you has there been anybody reached out to try to co-stream or anything like that in a different region?
So I haven't had like if someone from Japan in particular wants to reach out and be like, I want to co-stream with Japanese commentators, that would be something I would actually love to set up going forward, just to get more outreach. But I'm sure the top teams will all stream their runs. I've seen a lot of teams on Twitter actually, like on their team Twitters, which this is something teams should do, is tweet out that you're going to play in the event and then say where you're going to either say where the stream is or say where your stream is. Because if Starburst just plays in the event and then doesn't say anything, why should I care, basically? You need to get your audience to actually care about the event. So I'm glad that top teams this time seem to be all tweeting out the event, talking about they're going to play in it, saying where their streams are going to be beforehand, instead of last second saying, oh, by the way, I'm playing in this big tournament, you should come watch.
I saw Drifting Tide on Twitter today respond to somebody saying, I forget who, it might have been Chara or somebody with a similar status of Chara, tweeting out, hey, I'm playing in this tournament. And Drifting Tide was like, oh, I didn't even know this was going on. And if you look, Drifting Tide signed up today. So there's some proof in the pudding to what you're kind of saying right there. Lastly, wrapping this up, how do you determine if this tournament is a success or not from your standpoint?
So there's like two metrics. One is if people had fun playing in a tournament. If I go on Twitter and then I see everyone saying this tournament was awful, I should have never played in this, and obviously something went wrong at that point. But I think the main thing for this being a success is just, well, again, everyone having fun, and then seeing the storylines that are going to come from this. Like you said, this is going to be the first international major, basically. So this is setting up competitive Splatoon for the next 4 to 6 months. So I want to make sure that no matter what the result is, that the whole scene grows because of it instead of just 1 or 2 tournaments.
And hey, go ahead and plug yourself real quick. Where can people find you and the Tetris shenanigans you're up to?
So I don't really do any videos or anything yet. I need to get into that. But if you all want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Baha _ Akami, AKAMI. So I mostly just tweet out my clips on that. I'll talk about like 2X a lot, especially going after and into the event. If I ever do content, which I keep saying is planned, I promise, guys, that will also be on there. Other than that, I would highly recommend following Dapple Productions Twitter. I believe it's at Dapple _prod. I know I'm advertising that on IPL, so ironic.
This is go on.
but I would highly recommend following them. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to plug. Just those 2 Twitter accounts, and then again, just play in the event is all I can stress. I really want to see as many teams as possible play, even if you're not a top seed, even if this is your first major or whatever. The best thing you can do for yourself is just play in the event and get that experience going forward.
Well, you've had 4 teams signed up since this stream started. Not that I had anything to do with that, but it's you're, you you said registration's open until 1 hour before the tournament. My goodness, this is going to be a monster of a tournament. You got a long weekend ahead of you, so good luck to you. And if you get any funny stories from Help Desk, make sure you let us know about it.
I'm sure that will be an experience in of itself.
And thank you for coming on, for sure. That was
No problem.
I know this was kind of a last minute thing, but it ended up working out. So thank you there.
Thank you for having me.
And that was Baja Blast, the head TO for 20XX. Yeah, Prominence is a team. I looked at it today and I was like, oh, I know who Obito is, but I personally don't know who these other players are. But the head TO is sitting there saying they're going to beat Starburst. And it's like, okay, we'll see. I mean, we'll get a good look at them. That's for sure. But there you go. Also, just a quick note. Yes, there's IPL sticker there. This is not an official IPL podcast. If it was, this we'd be talking about a lot different things. I wouldn't be allowed to be as opinionated as I am about some topics. Sometimes I get a little heated about certain conversations, and I'm like, I'm glad this isn't connected to IPL other than just my personal association to it. But hey, you know what? Dapple Productions deserves a shout out this weekend. There was some stuff that I kind of hinted at. Me and JPEG are working on some stuff, and we want to announce it. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Let's not announce it this weekend. Let's let Dapples have the weekend and let them do their thing. And then we'll start rolling out some news early next week. How about? If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, and if you think that everything I've said today is nonsense, I put a player in the wrong country at one point and said one player retired when the other one did, and it wasn't me. So there's but if Prominence does in fact beat Starburst, if Kings isn't the top team, if Oro Jackson is really above the hype that we've placed on them, I will correct everything. I always do out apologies when my free reviews are wrong, and on Monday we'll do an entire recap of this, and I'll try to get somebody to come on and talk as well on Monday. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast in any way, feel free to reach out. My socials below: Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun. Who is streaming Squid School? We need to get Stratagem on here at some point as well, because Squid School has really been successful. So go check it out. Make sure you get vaccinated. Stay safe out there. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy planet. Try not to die. See you guys on Monday.